Amazing. We're going live. We're live. Welcome, everyone, to BaBayit, Tuesday night, shiurim. Kol hakavod to all of you for coming out on Tuesday night to learn Torah. BaBayit is a grassroots organization for the people, by the people. And yeah, we run events, Torah events like this, social events, chagim. We have something really awesome coming up for Shavuot, so look out for it. We're going to be posting it really soon. I went last year and I really, really liked it. All night learning with different speakers and different opportunities, different ways of learning. So it should be really, really great and fun and Torah filled. Is this anyone's first time at a BaBayit event? Amazing. Do you want to just say hi and say your name?
Sure. Hello.
Hi, Will.
Hello.
Welcome to BaBayit. We're happy to have you here. Anyone else? First time? Okay, so BaBayit events are, like this event is free, which is amazing, and we put together a lot of events, so we're always looking for donations. They're appreciated and encouraged. 18 shekel or whatever you can give. You can send bits to Laser, or I could give you my Israeli number, and you could also send me. It all goes to BaBayit, and it helps to kind of encourage other events that we want to keep doing things. If you have any ideas for events or speakers, then talk to me after or send me a message. So for tonight's thank yous, you want to thank Penina Hirschfield, Baker Penina. I highly recommend trying all of her baked goods tonight. They're delicious. Thank you for volunteering to purchase, make it, and bring me in here. It's a lot of work, and thank you so much. And also, they're delicious, so thank you. Thank you to Ezra and the rest of the comms team for posting and doing a lot of the behind the scenes. Thank you to Ben Wittenberg for helping coordinate with Eretz Chemda. We're very grateful to Eretz Chemda for letting us, providing this space for us to learn together. And we're really grateful for that. And we're grateful for Chana Gorelik, who's here. Chana's a dear friend and a very inspiring person, so I'm really excited to learn tonight. But for those who don't know Chana, here's a little quick bio about her, but I encourage you all to get to her. 7.5 months ago from Passaic, New Jersey. She's a very active audience here. I like it. From Passaic, New Jersey. She's a speech therapist and specializes in augmentative and alternative communication. Chana enjoys exploring the streets and alleyways of Yerushalayim, traveling, learning, reading, and spending time with friends. It's true. If you have any questions about any street in Yerushalayim, Chana knows directions of how to get anywhere. So grateful for you, for your effort in putting together a source sheet. We're all really excited to learn Torah from you. So without further ado, Chana, here you go.
Yay. Thank you so much, Erica, for those really kind words. I'm really touched, and thank you, to all of BaBayit for doing all this. You all know who you are, everyone behind the scenes. I so appreciate it, and for all of you for coming. I'm so humbled and just taken aback, and what amazing people. And I love that we're mostly girls. So fun. All the guys, great. But look at all these nice friends. I'm just so happy. Thank you so much. Okay, and then shout out to Vivi, who can't be here, but she said in the zchut of your shir, it should be a zchut for the safety and security of Am Yisrael, and I thought that was really beautiful. So thanks, Vivi. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so the title of the shir is Yom Yerushalayim and Shavuot, Days of Revelation and Unification. Okay, so just a little bit of background on the 6-day war, just so we're all on the same page. Okay, so the war started on June 5th, 1967, and it went until June 10th, 1967. And on the third day of the war, which was June 7th, Chaf Iyar, which is coming up, that's when Yerushalayim was unified. Okay, and then that is exactly 1 week before Shavuot. So it's when I saw that, I was just there has to be something, there has to be some significance to this, and that's what I wanted to explore with you guys tonight. And when like I signed up to give the shiur, like the dates kept changing, and like I thought I was gonna do like Shavuos and then something else, and then it came to this day, and I was like, I just feel like this is meant to be. Like this is apropos. Like I'm kind of like this huge Zionist person, if you don't know, and like I love talking about Yerushalayim in Israel. I actually spoke about it at my bat mitzvah, which is like hilarious, because my birthday is actually Shavuos, which is like funny. Thanks guys. So that's what I want to explore. Like, okay, like they're so close together, like there has to be some sort of significance, like what's going on here? Okay, and then the last day of the war fell out on Bet Sivan. And literally like 3,000 years ago, which is basically Rosh Chodesh Sivan, like that's when Bnei Yisrael came to Midbar Sinai to start preparing for Kabbalat HaTorah. So we could look at the first source in Shemos Yates, Pasuk Aleph. We're just going to do Pasuk Aleph for right now. I apologize for the lack of numbers. That's just how it happened. Okay, so B'chodesh Hashlishi, let's say Bnei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim, Bayom Hazeh Ba'u Midbar Sinai. So we see the third month, so Nisan Yer Sivan. Okay, that's when Bnei Yisrael came to Midbar Sinai, and the source underneath, Rashi, says Bayom Hazeh B'Rosh Chodesh. So Rashi explains Bayom Hazeh, like that is Rosh Chodesh. So that's when Bnei Yisrael started preparing for Matan Torah. So it's just so apropos that that's when they started preparing for Matan Torah, and like nowadays, we see that like Yom Yerushalayim is like our preparation for Matan Torah, like exactly a week before. Okay, so let's start exploring a little bit more. Also, like that very first Shavuot after the unification of Yerushalayim, like I read that like so many people just like came down to the Kotel, and it was just like the most magnificent of days, and like they haven't done that in like thousands of years, and it was like under their sovereignty, and like I wish I could have been there to have seen like such a miracle and something so beautiful. Okay, so let's keep going now. So it is double-sided. If you turn the page around, we're going to skip a little bit to Bereshit Yudalet Pasuk Yud Chet. Okay, Yerushalayim, and where we see Yerushalayim in the Torah and its meaning and its significance. Okay, so Pasuk Yud Chet. Umalki tzedek melech shalim, hotzi lechem v'yayin v'hu kohen l'kel elyon. Okay, so first Rashi, like, who's Malki tzedek? Interesting. So Rashi underneath says, Umalki tzedek medrash agada hu Shem ben Noach. So Chazal want to say that Malki tzedek is actually Shem, the son of Noach, like the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Shem Be'ever. Okay, and he named this place Shalem. Okay, so what is Shalem? Okay, so let's go down to Targum Onkelos, Pasuk Yud Chet, Umalki Tzedek Malka Yerushalayim. Okay, so Onkelos translates Shalem as Yerushalayim. Okay, so we have a very special person naming this place Yerushalayim. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so, and Ramban says the same thing as Onkelos, actually. He also says, in the next source, Umalki Tzedek Melech Shalem, Hi Yerushalayim. Okay, so we're seeing like Shalem is Yerushalayim. And then the underlined part, if you look down a little bit, Ki me'az yadu hagayim, ki hamakom hahu mivchar hamikomu be'emsa hiyushuv o sheyadu malato b'kabbalah. So Ramban is saying that even all the nations of the world, they knew that Yerushalayim is this special place. So we just see like Yerushalayim in its essence is just something very holy and very special, and even all the non-Jews knew about that, which is really interesting. Which is the first page of the double-sidedness. The Radak says, again, very similarly, Umalki Tzedek Melech Shalem, Hi Yerushalayim. Again, Shalem, that's what's called Yerushalayim. And if we jump to the underlined part, Ki Yerushalayim hu makom hatzedek v'shalom lo yisbol ol v'chamas u'meisei toeva. Yerushalayim is this special place of shalom, like peace and righteousness. So again, we're just seeing like more and more about Yerushalayim, like it's so special and there's shalom there. Okay, so Yerushalayim just symbolizes this peace and this unity we're gonna see. Okay, turn over your double-sided page, please. Okay, so that was the first place we saw Yerushalayim in the Torah. Melchizedek naming it Shalem. Okay, now there's a second place where we see Yerushalayim in the Torah. So Bereshit Kavbet Yudaled. Vayikra Avraham Shem HaMakom Ahu Hashem Yireh. So Avraham, after Akedat Yitzchak, he called this place Hashem Yireh. And we know Akedat Yitzchak from Chazal, he's naming that place Hashem Yireh. Okay. Also, a little bit of background I want to give about the Melchizedek story in case, just to refresh our memories actually. So Lot was captured, and then the 4 kings fought against the 5 kings, but like the 5 kings lost to the 4 kings. So Avram came in and he actually won against the 4 kings, and he saved Lot, and then Melchizedek like comes out and he brings out bread and wine. So that's just like that story background. Okay. So then we have the next of Avraham after Akedat Yitzchak calling the place Hashem Yireh. Okay, so we have 2 very special holy people, Shem and Avraham, calling Yerushalayim a different name. Okay, so we have this like beautiful Bereshis Rabbah actually, and this is where we're going to start seeing the theme of Achdut in Yerushalayim. Okay, so we're going to skip to the underlined part. Okay. Avraham kara oto yireh, shene'emar, v'yikra Avraham shema makomahu Hashem yireh. Shem kara oto shalim, shene'emar u'malkitzedek melch shalim. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, im korei ani oto yireh, kishem shekorei oto Avraham, shem adam tzadik mitzrayim. V'im korei ani oto shalim, Avraham adam tzadik mitzrayim. Ela harini korei oto Yerushalayim, kamo shekaranu shnehem, yireh shalim. Yerushalayim. So Hashem is saying, if I call the place Shalem, then Avraham, who's a great tzaddik, will be upset. But if I call the place Hashem Yireh, then Shem, who's a great tzaddik, will be upset that it's not Shalem. So let me combine these 2 names and call it Yerushalayim. So already we're seeing that Yerushalayim is this place of Achdut. Sorry, can you ring me that? So, okay, Yerushalayim, place of Achdut. Beautiful, holy place, and we're so lucky to live here. No words. Okay. All right, next source. Okay, no longer double-sided. Go to the next page. Okay, so, 1 second. Oh, actually, this is what I want to do. Okay. I want to go back to the very first page where it has from Shemot Yotes, and there's like a few underlined psukim. We only did the first underlined one. The very first page. Thank you, Erica. The first page with the picture of Reb Goren. Okay. So the next underlined part, Vayesu mirafidim, Vayevo midbar Sinai, Vayachanu bamidbar, Vayichan sham Yisrael, neged hahar. So this is like the most famous pasuk that we all know. There's a song and everything. Erica's dancing. I love it. Okay, so Rashi's on the next page of the double-sidedness. If you turn, Rashi al Shemot Yotet. Okay, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, like we all know this famous Rashi, Ke'ish echad b'lev echad. So at Har Sinai, when we were accepting the Torah, we were united. We were Ke'ish echad b'lev echad. So we're already starting to see this parallel of Achdut. Like Yerushalayim, its essence is Achdut, and then when we accepted the Torah, we had Achdut. And we're going to see, we can only accept the Torah when we're unified. Otherwise, like, it's not going to work. We need that unification. So Hashem revealed himself to us when we were unified. And like, just like we saw all the miracles of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and then when we came to Har Sinai, we were unified and we got the Torah. So too, like now, the modern day miracles of the 6-day war, like we saw all these, like, wow, miracles, like if you don't recognize them, it's just mind-boggling. Like so many things happened. And like that is our prep, like for Matan Torah. So just like we saw miracles after Yetziat Mitzrayim, then we were able to accept the Torah, like miracles of 1967, like Hashem revealed himself. It's like the same thing, this parallel of like Hashem revealing himself, and then we get the Torah like a little bit later. It's just like, it's really unbelievable. Like the Torah just knows all. It's amazing. Okay. So now we're going to extract, I'm going to tell you Where to go? Okay, so after the Bereshis Rabbah we read, there was a pasuk in Yeshayahu, Perek Bet, pasuk Gimel.
Sorry, what's the top of that page?
Oh, there's like some just,
This one.
thank you, Hannah. Blank and then some English on the other side.
Yeah.
No, sorry, everyone.
Anyone on that?
Erica's our projector, thank you. Okay, so the underlined part, Kimi Tzion Teitze Torah Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, another very famous pasuk, and the Mitzudat David says, right underneath Kimi Tzion, Ki HaTorah HaAmitit Hi Hayotzeit Mitzion Ve'ein Zlata Ba'olam. Okay, so the Torah emanates from Tzion, which is Yerushalayim, and Mitzudat Tzion says that like the Torah is most truthful in Yerushalayim. Like that's where Torah is the most truthful, right here. Okay, so this is like an elaboration on Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Hahar. So, hang on. Okay, when we're all unified, that's when we got the Torah. And the Torah emanates from like a unified Yerushalayim. So like we can only accept the Torah when we're unified, which comes from this unified city of Yerushalayim, and that's the most truthful Torah. So then I just had like my own thoughts on this about like Shivim Panim LaTorah. Okay, so there's Shivim Panim LaTorah. There's so many ways to look at Torah, but like that shouldn't like separate us. That should only like bring us closer together, because Torah, its essence, is unifying us. So we should be able to hopefully like respect everyone's Torah, and Torah is Torah. And that was actually my grandfather, like Allah Hashalom, was like his motto, like Torah is Torah, and like we learn Torah from anyone. And I have like two stories. I was talking to my dad, and he told me these really nice stories. So when he was in Gush for the year, my grandfather spoke to him, and he was like, I want you to go to like our very religious cousins in Montesdorf, who my grandfather would visit, and like bring them Al HaTshuva by the Rav. So my father's like, okay, I will go and do that. So he went there, he brought Al HaTshuva, and at first like he saw his cousin like reading it, and like maybe it was on the bookshelf, and then it kind of disappeared from the bookshelf, it went into the bedroom, ultimately maybe disappeared from the apartment. Because yeah, like there are different conflicting views, like Haredim, Reb Soloveitchik, okay, fine. So I think my grandfather was in Israel, and he spoke to his cousin. He was like, so what did you think of the book? And he was like, yeah, interesting, but I feel like I can't keep it here because, you know, Zionism. And my grandfather's like, what do you mean? Like, Torah is Torah. Like, I learned Rav Shach. Like, are we necessarily hashgafically on the same page? No, but like his Torah is beautiful, and like Torah is Torah, and like I respect that. And then one other story that was in this past week's Mishpacha magazine, which I really miss reading, that my dad told me about. So Rav Chaim Soloveitchik, the Rav's grandfather, who was like not a Zionist at all, like Bichlal, like not at all, and Rav Elchanan Wasserman, who also was not, they decided to go to a funeral of, his name was Rav Shmuel Mulliner, I think, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who was like a big Zionist, and people were like, why are you going? How can you go? And Rav Chaim was like, he's a huge Talmud Chacham. Like, of course I'm going. Like, who cares? This doesn't matter. So, like, the Torah should be, like, unifying for us. And, like, in order to receive the Torah, like, we have to be unified, and we have to, like, humble ourselves and be like, okay, like, not everything is black and white or, like, how I think necessarily. Like, there's so many ways to look at things, and, like, I'm going to respect everyone's Torah. So I just thought that that was a very important thing. Okay, so let's move on to the next source of Tehillim. Okay, so this is a very famous parak of Tehillim, Shir Malot LeDavid, Samachti B'omrim Li Beit Hashem Nelech, Umdot Hayu Ragleinu B'Sharach Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim HaBenuya Ke'ir Shachubra LaYachdav. So which means like everyone is attached to Yerushalayim. Everyone is attached to it, like all of Bnei Yisrael, like Binyamin, Yehuda, like they all come down to Yerushalayim to do Aliyah L'Regel. And like right now in Yerushalayim, literally people from all walks of life, like it's unbelievable, like are all here. So then this fits into David. So a lot of Mizmorim of Tehillim like don't say the author, but it's so interesting that this one happens to say LeDavid, which I just like found interesting. And then, so we know David, he was born and he passed away on Shavuos, actually. And he's a descendant of Rus, and we read Rus on Shavuos. Okay, so what's the significance of this? So David was known as like Ish Yerushalayim. Like he really wanted to unify Yerushalayim, and like that was his goal. Like he brought the Aron to Yerushalayim. He like was a man of war, and he's the one who ultimately like conquered Yerushalayim. He's a man of Torah. So I just found like it's so apropos. Like we read Rus on Shavuos, and like David's a descendant of Rus, and like he really tried to unify Yerushalayim and all of Bnei Israel. Like what another like fascinating connection. That's really so interesting. Okay, let's see. Next. Okay, everyone can turn over their page to Bamidbar. Thanks, Erica. Human projector. Okay, so this is actually very interesting. I was actually speaking to someone yesterday, and this person was like, I realized that like we read Bamidbar like right after like Yom Yerushalayim, right before Shavuos, and it talks about the Degalim. And I was like, yeah, it's so interesting. So yeah, really interesting. And like, cause I found that like when I was prepping for this year. So yeah, 99% of the time, Bamidbar is the week before Shavuos, which is like very interesting. And I was like, I want to explore that. Like, I just feel like, I don't know, there's so many connections, like there has to be more. So some of this I kind of like made up, but that's okay, right? Okay. Okay, so basically, it talks about the Degalim. So we're going to read that in Bamidbar. Okay. Pasuk Aleph. Vayezaber Hashem al Moshe v'al Aaron lemor, ish al diglo ba'otot lebeit avotam yachanu b'nei Yisrael mineged saviv la'ohel moed yachanu. So this is talking about Bnei Yisrael camping in the Midbar. Like the Mishkan was in the middle, and then like all the kefutzot of Bnei Yisrael were surrounding the Mishkan, and they all had different Degalim. Okay, so this was my own thing. I was like, okay, the Mishkan, which houses the Torah, which symbolizes like unity, and like we're all like surrounded by it, which is just like another like theme of Achdut that we see here in Bamidbar in this third Aliyah, talking about Degalim. Okay, so then I have some interesting things I found from like Rav Kook and the Rav, talking about Degalim, which is like very interesting. Okay, does anyone want to read? Otherwise, I'll just read. But if anyone like has this longing to read, they can read. Are you sure? I'll read. You want to? Okay. Go for it.
Rav Kook noted that the Torah commands the Israelites to form a camp with banners representing different tribes. He then cited the Midrash, which describes that there were 22,000 chariots of angels, each one decked out with flags, attended the giving of the Torah. The Israelites immediately desired to have flags just like the angels, and God agreed.
Okay, I'm going to pause you for a second. So there's a Midrash that says that at Kabbalat HaTorah, there are actually angels, and they're all holding flags, whatever that actually means. And like, that's what we wanted when we camped around the Mishkan. And like, I was reading that like every Shevet's like flag like had a different like picture on it and like symbolized something special, and it was from Yaakov. So it was like all their like individuality, but like I don't know, I think it's like coming together and like unifying them, which is really interesting. You want to go on?
Sure.
Thanks,
Does
Erica.
anyone else want to read?
Does anyone else want to read? Hannah says no.
Okay. This request for flags that the Midrash teaches is described as Shir Shiurim. He brought me out the wine house, and his banner over me is love. And his banner over me is love. The Holy One, blessed be He, said to them, "What did you desire? To make banners. By your lives I will fulfill your petitions. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions." Immediately the Holy One, blessed be He, told Israel and said to Moshe, "Make them banners as they desired." Keep going. Rav Kook powerfully suggested that the original flag of Israel began at Mount Sinai, at the giving of the Torah. He went on to argue that the flag represents our march towards redemption, and signifies, as it was in this case, the international unity behind the Zionist enterprise.
Yeah, next page.
Which one?
One second. Yeah, that's a no. Okay, that might just be where it ends. Thanks, Erica. Basically, so there's like different rabbis who say different things about the Israeli flag, but Rav Kook was very like pro it, and he actually says like the original flag began at Mount Sinai with the angels, and then like when we camped around the Mishkan, and like our flag today like has significance, which is just very interesting. And then the Rav says something like different but also similar. Okay, so this is from Chamesh Drashot. He says, I want to add something. If you ask me, how do I, a Talmudic Jew, look upon the flag of the state of Israel, and has it any halachic value? I would answer plainly, I do not hold at all with the magical attraction of a flag or of similar symbolic ceremonies. Judaism negates ritual connected with physical things. Nonetheless, we must not lose sight of a law in the Shulchan Aruch, to the effect that one who has been killed by non-Jews is buried in his clothes, so that his blood may be seen and avenged. In other words, the clothes of the Jew acquire a certain sanctity when spattered with the blood of a martyr. How much more is this so of the blue and white flag, which has been immersed in the blood of thousands of young Jews who fell in the War of Independence, defending the country and the population. Religious and irreligious alike, the enemy did not differentiate between them. It has a spark of sanctity that flows from devotion and self-sacrifice. We are all enjoined to honor the flag and treat it with respect. It does not require a hechsher from the non-Jewish Union Jack. I honestly don't even know what that is, but that's okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. I have lots to learn.
This point is that the Union Jack is a combination of like British, like the English, Scottish, and the British rule under it. Yeah, so like, the flag is a combination of flags within the United Kingdom, so it's a combination.
Interesting, thank you. I appreciate that. So Rav Soloveitchik is comparing like when someone like God forbid is murdered, like they're actually buried in the clothes they were murdered in, and like Kal V'chomer, like the Israeli flag, like so many people fought to defend it, to like defend our country. So like we really should show respect for it. So just a connection between like Bnei Israel in the Midbar, camped around the Mishkan, which houses the Torah, which unifies us, and everyone had a flag, and then just a little side point of like just the essence of the flag and like respecting it. Okay, and it's just like kind of funny that like on Yom Yerushalayim, like cute, like Rikud to go in, just like, yeah, I think I just have like a new outlook on it now, like really to like be careful with it and yeah, treat it well. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the modern day Achdut. So we talked about like 3,000 years ago Achdut, like us receiving the Torah and the Achdut of Yerushalayim. Let's talk a little bit about modern day Achdut. Okay, so a little bit of background on the war again. So, okay, during the war, Levi Eshkol was the prime minister, and he was the Labor Party, Avodah. And like him and Menachem Begin, like very big opponents, like who's the head of Likud. Okay, very big opponents. But it's really interesting. What are you guys whispering about?
Today's the day that not made him on his election back in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you want to say it loud? It's really cool. Today's the day that Menachem Begin won his election. That's what do you know? It's all meant to be. It's very cool. Thanks, Anna. I'm just giving random shout outs, sorry. Okay, so a week before the war, like when everyone was like really like freaking out, a lot of turmoil, that's actually when Levi Eshkol invited Menachem Begin to be part of the government. Like they're unifying. Okay, already modern day unification, like Avodah and Likud, like very opposite political parties, because they were working together for a common goal. That's what they were doing. So, which I found, my father actually told me this, and I was like, that's really interesting. I'm gonna put that in. Okay. I just thought that was really cool. As you can tell, I spoke to my dad a lot, and I really want to thank my father. Like, he is so amazing and like so humble and like so full of like Torah knowledge, and like I've learned so much from him, and like learned to like appreciate Torah from my father, my grandfather, like the whole legacy. So if you watch this, thank you. I don't know. Yeah, technology, whatever. Anyways, okay. So now, this part is just, it's long, but it's really beautiful. Okay, maybe we could take turns reading, but I will start reading. Okay, so this is written by Yitzhak Navon, one of the Israeli presidents. I'm just looking at the time. Okay, we're good. Who wasn't religious. So like this is like already like, wow, the fact that he wrote this is amazing. It's like a modern day allegory of the midrash of like how Har Sinai was chosen. So we all know like the famous midrash, like every mountain's like me, and Har Sinai's like, didn't say anything, and Hashem's like I want it on you, like you're humble, which, I mean, I kind of made this up, but I just feel like it ties in because like, how can we be united? Like we all need to be humble. So it's like so apropos, like Matan Torah was given on Har Sinai, which was like the most humble of mountains, and like we were able to be united. Okay, so I'm gonna start. It's called The 6 Days and the 7 Gates of Jerusalem, based on a modern day midrash by former Israeli President Yitzhak Navon. When Israel became a state in 1948, the old city of Jerusalem was conquered by Jordan. For nearly 20 years, Jerusalem remained a divided city, separated by a high concrete wall. The new city, Kotel, remained under the control of Jordan. The people of Israel were not allowed to enter the old city. They could no longer pray at the Kotel. The old city was surrounded by a high wall. There were 8 gates in that wall, and we're going to see what they are. In the west side of the wall was Shar Yafo, the Jaffa Gate. In the north side of the wall were Shar HaChadash, the New Gate, Shar Shechem, the Damascus Gate, and Shar HaPrachim, the Flower Gate. In the east side of the wall was Shar HaArayot, the Lion's Gate, and Shar HaRachamim, the Golden Gate. And in the south side of the wall were Shar HaShbot, the Dung Gate, and Shar Tzion, the Zion Gate. The years went by. Many people entered the old city through these gates, but Jews were forbidden to do so. In June 1967, the Six-Day War broke out. Israel's soldiers fought bravely and won many victories. Soon they reached the old city of Jerusalem. They prepared to fight for it and to take it back from Jordan. But they did not know through which of the 7 gates to enter. As they tried to decide what to do, each gate begged. So here's the allegory. One louder than the other. Enter the old city through me. Enter the old city through me. Their voices reached heaven, but God and his angels could not decide which gate deserved to be the one through which the soldiers would enter. Then the angel Michael spoke. God in heaven, all the gates are beautiful, and each deserves to be the one through which the soldiers will enter the old city. Let each gate speak and explain why it should be chosen. Then you will decide which gate is most worthy. God thought this was an excellent idea and asked each gate to speak for itself. Shar Yafo, the Jaffa Gate, spoke first. 2 important roads go out from me. One leads to the city of Yafo and to the Mediterranean Sea. The others go to Hebron, where our ancestors Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, and Yaakov and Leah are buried in me, in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Near me stands the Tower of David. I will make sure that the soldiers of Israel enter the old city safely. Okay, then Shar Shechem, the Damascus Gate, spoke out in a loud voice and said, I'm the biggest and most beautiful of all the gates. All roads leading north from Jerusalem start here with me. Let the soldiers of Israel enter the old city through me. Shar Tzion, the Zion Gate, was the next to speak. God in heaven, I am named for your holy city, Zion. Look at me, I am bruised and broken from all the fighting around me. It is only right that victory should come through me. Choose me, choose me. And then we actually know, like in 1948, there's like a lot of bullet holes you can see in Shar Tzion, like from that war. Okay, raising its voice, Shar HaShbot, the Dung Gate, said, Dear God, look at me, I'm miserable and ashamed. For centuries, Jerusalem's garbage was dumped on me. Now don't misunderstand. I'd rather be covered with the garbage of Jerusalem than with all the precious jewels in the world. Every day, I try to comfort the Kotel, which is right next to me. It's sad because Jews cannot pray there now. Make us happy and let Israel's soldiers enter the old city through me. It was then the turn of Shar HaPrachim, the Flower Gate. It would not be right for the soldiers of Israel to enter the old city through the dirty Dung Gate. Let the soldiers of Israel enter through me, and I will give them wreaths of flowers. It should be through me, through me. Next, the voice of Shar Chadash, the New Gate, was heard. I'm the smallest and newest of the gates. I'm so new that I'm not even counted as one of the gates. I am near the Israeli side of the city, and every day I watch as Israel's enemies fire upon her. I try to protect Israel, but I cannot. Please let Israel's soldiers enter through me. Next in line to speak was Shar HaRachamim, the Golden Gate. Its voice was muffled because it was closed in on both sides. Master of the universe, for years my entrance has been sealed shut. The other gates open and close, but large stones block me up. You promised that the Jews would return to build the Beit HaMikdash through me, and that is why Israel's enemies sealed me shut. It's only right that the soldiers of Israel enter through me. Only Shar Ha'arayot, the lion's gate, was left to speak. God pointed to it, but it remained silent, just like Har Sinai. Finally, it began to speak in a soft voice. God in heaven, from all directions, I see soldiers fighting and being wounded. My heart is breaking, and I cannot bear to watch any longer. It doesn't matter through which gate the soldiers enter. Just make the fighting stop. God and the angels heard these words and whispered among themselves. Then God turned to the lion's gate and said, all the other gates are interested in their own honor, but you care more about the soldiers of Israel than about yourself. Therefore, we have decided that the soldiers of the young lions go forth and enter through the lion's gate. As we have seen, the soldiers of Israel passed into the old city through the lion's gate. Their armored cars swept through the alleyways, and they set the city free. At the western wall, they blew a great blast on the shofar. The blast was heard throughout the land, and everyone knew that the gates of the old city were once again open to Jews. A miracle had occurred. Jerusalem was united. When I read that, I literally cried. I was like, wow, like Yitzchak Navon, like, wow, like he wasn't even religious, and like he made up this allegory, and it's so beautiful. So it's really interesting because actually we're going to see in the next and final source about Rav Moshe Tzvi Neria. Just fun shout out. My brother lives in Neria, so just cool. Okay, just had to do that. So he's going to actually ask the question, like, okay, like 1948, like why did we have to wait all the way till 1967 for this miracle to occur? Like, what's going on? Like, it's so interesting. And here is where we're going to like wrap up and really see like how important Achdut, like unity, is in order to like have Yerushalayim and have the Torah. Okay, so we're gonna read this. Okay, so this is adapted from his sefer called Moadei Haraya. Okay, Rabbi Moshe Tzvi Neria, a student of Rav Kook and noted author and educator, posed the following question shortly after the old city of Jerusalem was liberated in 1967. Why is it that only now we merited conquering the old city? Why did our efforts during the 1948 War of Independence fail? The psalmist described Jerusalem as a city that was joined together, and we read that in Tehillim before. What is this joining quality of Jerusalem? The Jerusalem Talmud explains that the Jerusalem joins each Jew to the other. Jerusalem is meant to be a focal point of unity and cohesion for the Jewish people. So Yerushalayim, in its essence of its name, is unity, and it's also what unites us. Okay, so the sages in Zevachim used a peculiar phrase when teaching that the Passover offering may only be brought in the city of Jerusalem. For this offering, the Talmud explains, it is necessary that all of Israel enter through one gate. Okay, this unusual expression of unity, entering through one gate, rings with an amazing prophetic resonance. During the 1948 War of Independence, the Palmach forces broke through the Zion gate, while the Etzel forces were ready to break through the Damascus gate. So at that point in 1948, there was no Tzahal yet. Like, we weren't united. There was like the Palmach, the Haganah, the Irgun, the Etzel, the Lechi. Like, we're all just kind of like all over the place, and like we're all like fighting, and like we weren't united. So he's gonna say like that's the reason like we couldn't unify Yerushalayim then, because we weren't unified in ourselves. So at that point in time, we were divided and disunited. Had we succeeded then in conquering the city, there would have been arguments about who had captured the city and to whom does she belong. Jerusalem would have become a cause for conflict and dissension. But Jerusalem was given to the entire Jewish people. As the Talmud says, the city was not portioned out to any particular tribe. Right, so interesting. Like Yerushalayim, like no tribe, that wasn't their nachala. It was like for everyone. For this reason, it was only in 1967 when we approached the old city united with one army and entering through one gate, Shar Harayot, that we merited regaining the city. The IDF, an army representing the national unity, government of Israel, and the Jewish people all over the world, entered via Jerusalem's Lion Gate and liberated the city. Interestingly, we find a similar idea when the Jewish people first conquered Jerusalem. Jerusalem, our holiest city, the eternal home for the Holy Temple, was not conquered during Yeshua's conquest of Eretz Yisrael. Nor was it secure during the time of the judges, a period lasting 400 years, nor did King Shaul capture it. Only when the Jewish people were united under the permanent dynasty of King David was Jerusalem delivered. So as we were talking about David, like that was also his essence. Like he wanted to unify Bnei Israel and unify Yerushalayim, and that's what he did. Okay, a little bit more. The medieval biblical commentator Rabbi David Kimpri noted that the text supports this idea. Immediately following David's coronation in Hebron by the elders of Israel, it emphasizes, then David and all of Israel went to Jerusalem. So like they all went together. They were all united. And then just like a very interesting like footnote that was there, Rabbi Neria added a second political explanation for delaying the liberation of the Old City until 1967. According to the UN partition plan, Jerusalem was meant to be an international city under UN auspices. Had Jerusalem been captured in 1948, the newly formed state would have been forced to bow to pressure from the UN. But during the 19 years that the Old City was under Jordanian occupation, for some reason, no such pressure was placed on Jordan. In 1967, the situation had changed significantly. The state of Israel was much stronger and less susceptible to international pressure. The UN was a weaker institution, and it was difficult to suddenly initiate a diplomatic effort for the internationalization of Jerusalem after the issue had laid dormant for 19 years. So like what a modern day miracle. Again, like if it had been captured in 1948, thanks, then like we would have seen like it wouldn't have worked because like the UN's influence and everything. So like what a miracle that it was actually not captured then, but 19 years later, in 1967. So I'm just gonna start summing up. So, okay, so we see Yerushalayim, its essence is unity from Shalem and Hashem Yireh. It's like whole essence is unity, and like all the nations knew there's something like really special about it. It's a place of shalom. Okay, so it unifies us. And then only when we're unified can we be ready to accept the Torah, because we can only accept the Torah when we're Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Hahar Ke'ish Echad B'Lev Echad. So unity is like a very crucial and central theme of which the Zchut of Yerushalayim depends on. And we only merited to receive the Torah when we were united. And it's like it's a big challenge for our generation to create this like unifying Torah, because like we're all over the place, Mashiach hasn't come yet, and like everyone learns differently, but we just have to remember like Shivim Panim LaTorah, and like it's all right. So like my hope right now for everyone is that the Torah, the Shavuos, will be like a Torah Me'achadet, like a unifying Torah for all of us, and like may the energy and the reunification of this upcoming Yerushalayim like spill over into Shavuot and create this Torah Me'achadet, and like let us be like ready and present for Kabbalat HaTorah like all together. Ke'ish Echad B'Lev Echad. Thanks everyone.